The participle. Read this sentence now. Dancing dolls are sold here. The word dancing is formed from the verb dance by adding ing. But it is also describing the noun dolls. So, it is performing the work of an adjective. Here is one more example. They bought baking trays. The word baking is formed from the verb bake, but baking is also describing the noun trays. So it is performing the work of an adjective. A verb that functions as an adjective is called a participle. We say that a participle is a verbal adjective. Kinds of participles. Participles are formed by adding ing, ed or n to verbs. They are verbs but work as adjectives. When a participle ends with an ing, it is called a present participle. When it ends with ed or n, it is called a past participle. Examples. The wounded soldiers were taken home. The painted shop was inaugurated in the morning. The words dancing, baking, wounded, painting are all participles. The participle. There are two kinds of participles. The present participle, dancing, baking. The present participle is formed by adding ing to the root form of the verb. The present participle describes an incomplete action or state. E.g., for example, the dancing dolls. The process of dancing continues. The present participle is active in form. The dancing dolls. The dolls were dancing, active. The past participle, wounded, painted. The past participle usually ends in ed, d, t, en or n. The past participle denotes an action that is complete or a state which is over. The wounded soldiers. The process of getting wounded is complete. The painted shop. The process of painting is complete. If the past participle is formed from a transitive verb, it is passive in form. The wounded soldiers. The soldiers were wounded, passive. The painted shop. The shop was painted, passive. In addition to these two simple participles, there is also a perfect participle. Having finished her food, she read a book. This sentence actually means, after finishing her food, she read a book. The perfect participle represents an action that was completed at some point of time in the past. Present participle, ing form of the verb, describes an incomplete action or state, active in form. Past participle form of the verb, indicates a complete action or state. Passive in form in case of transitive verbs. Joining sentences by using participles. We can join pairs of sentences by using participles also. Look at the following examples. The man saw a car moving at great speed. The object of the first sentence is the subject of the second sentence. Such sentences are very easy to join. The man saw a car moving at great speed. I met some girls. They were playing in the park. The pronoun they refers to girls. I met some girls playing in the park. He switched the light. He went off to sleep. Here, both the sentences have the same subject. So, we may convert one of the finite verbs into a participle. Switching off the light, he went off to sleep. The old man called the postman. He went out of the house. Calling the postman, The old man went out of the house. In each of the examples given above, the two actions mentioned in each pair of sentences occur simultaneously. In example 1, the man's seeing the car and the car moving at great speed are taking place simultaneously. So we use the continuous form of the participle, but sometimes the second action begins only after the first has been completed. In such a case, we change the verb expressing the first of the actions into a perfect participle. He had injured his hand. He went to the doctor for treatment. Having injured his hand, he went to the doctor for treatment. We had climbed up the hill. We sat down to relax. Having climbed up the hill, we sat down to relax. We have discussed earlier that besides being a verb, the participle is an adjective also, and it refers to a noun or a pronoun. We should use the participle in a way that it refers to the correct noun. Read the sentences given below. Example: sleeping in her bed, a loud shriek woke her up. The way the participle sleeping is placed in this sentence, it refers to the noun shriek. But it was she and not shriek that was sleeping on the bed. We should write it in the correct way. When she was sleeping in her bed, a loud shriek woke her up. Let us take another example. Being an expensive vase, he could not buy it. The sentence suggests that he was an expensive vase, which is incorrect. It being an expensive vase, he could not buy it. Since it was expensive, he could not buy it. Difference between the gerund and the present participle. The gerund and the present participle are both formed by adding ing to the verb. But they are different from each other. A gerund is a verbal noun. A present participle is a verbal adjective. Now, let us take an example. He was startled by her shouting. The shouting children were told to sit quietly in school. In sentence A, shouting answers the question, startled by what? It has been used as the object of the preposition by. Since only a noun or a pronoun can act as an object, shouting is a noun, but shouting is also formed from the verb shout. So, shouting is a verbal noun or a gerund. In sentence B, in addition to being a verb form, the word shouting also describes the noun children and therefore acts as an adjective. So, shouting is a verbal adjective, or we can say a participle, present participle. Look at this sentence. The doctor was upset at the patient coming late. This sentence should actually be written as the doctor was upset at the patient's coming late. He did not appreciate me winning the competition. He did not appreciate my winning the competition.